The following is a hockey podcast out of Vancouver and Surrey, British Columbia. It'll only consist of a lot of puck talk and even more BS, or in actual words, banter and satire. Enjoy, and as always, go Canucks go.
Should Patrick Allvin and company become Predators? Yes, Predators, and poach from Barry Trotz, who is going down the path of being one of the worst GMs right now in hockey, if he's telling the truth. Let's talk about it.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome to this bonus episode of Locked On Canucks. My name is Trevor Beggs. That guy's Cal Bound. And Barry Trotz was the winner of free agency. Everyone around the NHL talking about the Nashville Predators. Oh, they're now a Stanley Cup contender. It hasn't been such a hot start for Nashville. They are 4-7-1 to start the season. You know, they did going on a little mini streak, winning 4 of 6. They did beat, a bad Boston team, Columbus, Chicago. And then the game against the LA Kings on Monday night, they lost 3-0 with 14 shots on goal. What is going on with this Nashville Predators team? And now Barry Trotz, like you said, Cal, ripping his team. Is Barry Trotz already declaring this season a loss?
I think he's doing that thing that some dads do, right? I think Sat tweeted this out. You know how you threaten your kid when he's doing something pretty bad? It's like, you know what? If you want to go to, I think Sat made perfect sense. He's like, if you want to go to Disneyland, you better get your ish together, okay? Because I can just cancel this trip. And Barry Trotz is pretty much saying, yo, if you guys are not legit and going to be a legitimate playoff threat, I'm going to pull the plug on this and bring in some young players. That being said, if he's joking or not, it's still, again, a threat, and it's kind of odd. There has to be a little bit of truth to it, just a little bit. Again, if the Predators struggle for the next 30 games with all these changes, I guarantee that this guy's going to pull a couple trades. And I wonder who's available. We talked about this on the phone for a couple minutes when we were hockey nerding out. You mentioned a couple interesting names, and the Canucks need help on defense. Maybe there's a connection here, man.
There might be, and honestly, the Nashville Predators are one team that I've looked at where I think there's actually 3 targets that could realistically make sense for the Vancouver Canucks. Again, not a lot of right shot D out there in the market, and maybe we'll touch on that on another episode, deep diving on that. But in terms of big names, not a lot of guys out there. And I'm not going to say Nashville has some big right shot guys, but they do have a couple, and Alexander Carrier is one of them. So Alexander Carrier right now, the 3rd highest average ice time on the Preds this season, only behind Roman Josi and Brady Shea. Obviously, there's Dante Fabro, who has completely fallen out of favor. Been a healthy scratch, played in 6 games, averaging 13 minutes of ice time per game. Definitely a buy low candidate there. And the third would be Jeremy Lauzon. And man, oh man, you think Kiefer Sherwood hits a lot? Jeremy Lauzon led the NHL in hits last season. He struggled to start the season, but honestly, that Lauzon Carrier pair didn't look too bad again in the Canucks in their playoff series last year. So those are 3 guys where none of them are going to cost a lot, especially a guy like Dante Fabro right now. But none of those guys are going to cost a lot, and they could definitely provide some value to this Canucks defense.
But do any of those names push the needle? I'm not sure. You know what? I would be a little interested in Lauzon. I'm not going to lie. I feel as if he was sturdy in that series. I think a lot of Nashville players were sturdy against, again, a top-heavy lineup in Vancouver. I know the Canucks weren't firing on all cylinders offensively going into the playoffs, and the Predators kind of had to face that quota of power. But again, they held their own. They limited us to the least amount of shots when winning a playoff series. Like, they did that, and he was a part of that. That being said, let's throw a curveball. Let's just have some fun. Become hockey nerds, right? How about Roman Josi? I'm being serious.
Ooh.
I'm being absolutely serious, man. I was driving to work again, hearing this Barry Trotz quote. I think he's partially joking. I think he's just, I'm not going to say being a bad GM, but maybe misreading the platform. You know what I'm saying? Why are you doing that on sports radio? Jim Rutherford-esque, but a bit too far. Real talk, and way too early for a team that spent so many dollars and have so many new faces in the room. Just not a confident / professional move on his part. And I shook this guy's hand. I feel guilty for talking ish behind his back, but I met Barry Trotz, okay? Cool dude, but again, is there truth there? If the Nashville Predators in the first 30 games are like 10-20 in some way, shape, or form, right? They only have 10 wins in their first 30 games. a team that was already on the fringe. Let's be honest and let's be real. There weren't real contenders. They went shopping, but you know what I'm saying? It wasn't legitimate. They're one of the weakest teams down the middle. Real talk. They lost Kevin Lankin and they lost Kiefer Sherwood to who? To who? Oh, to us. And yeah, I wonder if they're going to go into a rebuild. How would Roman Josi want to be a part of that? And you look at the Canucks' needs on defense. Like, they need legitimacy on defense. You look at the whole Rasmus Anderson thing and the trade package, and that could cripple a team if it doesn't equate to a cup. Well, Roman Josi has what? He has a lot of term left. I think Roman Josi has a lot of game left. Roman Josi also a good friend of Quinn Hughes. They trained together this summer. Jim Rutherford, Patrick Alvin, a little unorthodox. They traded for superstars before, right? They traded for Phil Kessel. They went all in, and look what happened. They won a couple cups. I know this sounds like mission impossible, but I know for sure that management group would be willing to go all in for a player of that caliber in Roman Josi. Like, they're willing to go Lecker-Mackey, Willander, a first to get this done. And I know he has an extremely high cap hit, but you got to bring up the whole Brock Besser thing too. There's got to be a way to make this happen if he's available, which I don't think is the case, but you never know.
I'll be damned. Well,
Oh man, that's too crazy. Unbelievable. Roman Josi. Kyle, you were on one, man, but let's fall down the rabbit hole a bit. Like, if the Nashville Predators truly are going to go into a rebuild, Roman Josi is 34 years old. And yeah, I know they signed some guys in the offseason like Jonathan Mustard-Salt and Steven Stamkos, who are the same age or thereabouts. But if the Nashville Predators do enter this teardown stage, Roman Josi, you got to think he's not necessarily going to stick around for that and would be open to moving or waiving his no movement clause to come to the Canucks, especially after, like you said, he trained with Quinn Hughes in the offseason. And yeah, I know the Canucks need a right shot guy preferably, but man, oh man, acquiring Roman Josi would set this team over the top as a cup contender. That's for sure. Making the cap dollars work would be a bit beyond interesting to see how that would work. I mean, you got to ship someone with it's got to be a good Besser or a Garland at the door. Maybe it's a separate trade to get some picks as well. But yeah, so let's say theoretically it's Josi. Again, he's 34, but a man, oh man, one of the best defensemen in the NHL still. And we're talking about the Canucks Cup window being in the next 3 years. But if it's like Lecker-Mackey, Willander in a first, and in some way, shape, or form, Besser and or Garland go out the door, yeah, it's spicy, man. But the
it's
Canucks,
so
again,
spicy.
The Canucks theoretically got enough depth on the wings to make up for the loss of a Besser or Garland, mortgage the farm for a 34-year-old. But that means the cup time is now. It would absolutely have to be now.
This is just crazy, but again, we're hockey nerding out, and there's like a little bit of rationale here. Like, we're not talking about sending like Besser, like Lecker-Mackey, Willander in the first. It's like, if they can't get a contract done with Besser, they can't do it. They can't do it, right? And maybe they ship him for assets, and then they use some of those assets to get Josi. Maybe they can save themselves from having to give up a Willander or Lecker-Mackey based on what they may get for a Besser. And this sounds crazy because we just dropped an episode like 5 hours ago telling you that Besser's our favorite Canuck right now. Like, he's one of my favorite Canucks. He's number two. And he's just such a complete player. He's one of America's best players. Get him on Team USA. I'm a Canadian, but I want him there. I want Team USA to be better. It's crazy. I'm American, but this is business. It's business. And it's year 2 of the Canucks being good. They cannot let Besser go for nothing. Like, they just started getting good. You know what I'm saying? And recouping some sort of value in return for him, and then possibly shipping that out the door in exchange for somebody who's still elite and has term is pretty important based on the free agent market and how normally it never works out when you go shopping on free agency and who's available on July 1st this year. Like, replacing Besser, if he doesn't come back, is going to be borderline impossible.
Yeah, I'm starting to wonder too, because it's gonna be too dark. But let's throw it out before we go. Any chance there's like a Pettersson for Josi package here?
No, the age different. No, you can't give up on Pettersson.
You have to be
just
adding.
yet.
Like, I think Nashville would want like a Willander. Canucks would have to want like
no. Nashville would have to
top prospects.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Okay, so it'd be like Josi and then some for Pettersson. It would have to be like that, dude. Come on. Nah, it's crazy. Okay, I just want to know again if the Nashville Predators suck and Roman Josi becomes available because he doesn't want to be a part of the rebuild. What's it going to take? Because I know we still getting paid $9 million for a very, very long time. I know hell is coming up, right? We're going to have to pay a lot of money for somebody that's not on the team. But in hindsight, at least you can recoup having star power on your team. And, the salary cap is going up. And it's interesting to say things like, oh, you're going to replace Besser with Josi because they play different positions. But just my concern of not getting anything in return for Besser and possibly, I don't know, again, buying at the deadline this year. It's making my hockey nerd brain go off, man. And how can we not think about this, man? If Nashville's in a rebuild, Roman Josi's not going to want to be around, okay? And he's still at the top of his game. And Quinn Hughes and him, they trained together.
You're tying the strings together, buddy.
Roman Josi in Vancouver, can't you see that? Can't you see Roman Josi walking around the streets of Vancouver? Like, I hope me and my girlfriend are not going for a walk on the same day, but this guy would look good in Vancouver. It's kind of like Nashville. Yeah. Kind of. Not really, but kind of.
Man, on my way home, I'm going to listen to that Roman Josi rap. Go check it out if you haven't already. Some Swiss rap artist dropped a Roman Josi. Roman Josi. Roman Josi. Man, oh man. Let us know in the comments. Do you think the Canucks should target Roman Josi? What would that trade look like? Kyle, I'm not sure if you're going to say anything else. If you're going to get out of here, I got to get out of here. Go see my
let's
family,
get out of
man.
here. Let's get out of here.
But,
again,
one love to you and you. One love to you and you and you. Canucks going to trade for Roman Josi. You heard it here first on Locked On Canucks. Peace.